Especially
Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
So this is just a reminder, and I don't need, he's Matt Shepard, I'm Sean Baligian. Hi. This is just a reminder, and I don't think I have to remind many of you, but maybe some of the older generation out there, the NFL is king, the NFL wins. There's your reminder. Okay, 126 million watch that shit show, and I will gladly throw it in the swear jar. 126, Shep, the most watched Super Bowl ever. 100
really.
Literally just came down. Like literally just a few minutes ago.
My gosh. So I just learned something tonight. Thank you for the education. Good to see you, buddy. Look, I picked the winner, but I sure didn't pick that score. I thought it would be lower scoring and much closer, but kudos to Philadelphia. That surprises the hell out of me that it's the most watched Super Bowl of all time. Look, you and I both agree. I mean, NFL's king. The thing the NFL does, I don't want to speak for you, but I get the sense neither one of us like Roger Goodell. Okay, I can't stand the phoniness on stage. It'll be in Green Bay this year. It was in Detroit last year, hugging the first round pick. I can't stand it. Okay, but what they do better than any other business, I would say, is their top mind awareness, man. They are out there all the time, reeling you in on a consistent basis. Bye weeks, 2 weeks in between the Super Bowl, still plenty to talk about. Off season, combine, you name it, free agency. They do it all perfectly. Now, the only thing that bothers me is the phoniness, the money grab, and stop with the 18 games that, we found that it really doesn't matter that much with the injuries. Bullcrap. But overall, as a business model, they're flawless just about, don't you think?
Killer told me about 15 years ago, Shep, probably longer than that now. He told me, because, I mean, you know him. He was, God rest his soul, he was as connected as anybody you will find. And I still remember him telling me, he was like, listen to me, they want to take the calendar over. They're not taking a back seat to anybody. They want to become an 11.5-month thing. And my gosh, Shep, I mean, really, that's about what they are right now. And they don't take a backseat. Well, the World Series on, we're not going to go. Well, Christmas Day is the NBA's day. The NFL just says, I mean, listen, I'm going to be crude. They just whip it out and say, here it is.
Yeah, right on.
We're bigger and better than anybody else, and this is what we're going to do,
Yeah, they're not afraid of anybody. When other leagues are scheduling around your league, you're the king of the hill.
Yep.
Now, you can have plenty of athletes like LeBron James say on Christmas Day, this is our house. No, it's not.
Nope.
It used to be. You like to think it is. You want it to be. You wish you could turn the clock back. But now that the NFL has got a little taste of that, and they drew an audience more than 3 times yours, it's not your holiday anymore.
No.
Go take your 7 million viewers and shoo away. The NFL will take their, 20 plus million, and they'll take care of business that way. Don't mess with them. They're the big boy on the block. They're the bully.
That's what they do. And Shep, let's be honest, it was a dog crap game in every sense of the imagination. I hate to say this, and Shep, as well as I do, doing talk radio for so many years, not that long ago, people still argued this undeniable truth. I always give Tony Dungy credit. Here's a guy that played defense. Tom Jackson used to say it all the time. Tom would go as far as to say they punish defenses, but he would say the NFL today really can be boiled down to this. It's what can you do to the opposition's quarterback and what can your quarterback do to the opposition? And you know what? If I was to take a fine-tooth comb or take a screwdriver and tighten that up, You know what? It's the line of scrimmage, man.
Right.
It is the line of scrimmage. That is the National Football League for all the pretty passes and dominating quarterbacks. And it's who controls the line of scrimmage. I like their chances.
I agree 100%. I've said this for as long as I could breathe, that you build a team from the inside out, and that's what Detroit has done, and that's what gave us great confidence in the Lions, right? I mean, that's the reason we felt day in and day out they were going to be in contention. I don't think it's that hard to figure out. I don't know. They protect your quarterback. They open up lanes for your running back. It allows your playmakers to get involved. And when you got a really strong defensive line, it puts pressure on their quarterback and it disrupts their offensive flow. It's not that hard to figure out. I remember doing a ton of draft shows, just like you did, Sean, a ton of draft shows on TV back in the day, and people would laugh at me, like Jim Brandstatter and stuff, say, you always want the lineman. I said, yeah, because I remember David DeCastro was on the board. Pittsburgh took him. He ended up being a multi-all-pro, and he was just rock solid at right guard. I said, I don't care if the position's not sexy. You know what's sexy? Winning.
Yep.
You know how you win? You win with the guys who are up front, who fart in the huddle, blow their nose in the huddle, put their fingers in the dirt, and say, I don't need the limelight. I don't need Sean Baligian with a recorder in my face or with a notepad in hand asking me questions. I just want to play football. Those are the guys I love, period.
Yep. Tom in London. Good evening, guys. Alan, hi, y'all. Now that the Tigers start soon, do you think we'll sign Bregman? Hold that thought for a second. KC got big boyed last night. 34-0 was absolutely astonishing. 5 sacks for Philly. Philly could have hung 60 on the Lions' decimated D. I want to get back to what
it's 6 sacks, all right. 6.
Yeah. I want to get back to something before we get to Alan and obviously Shep. I'm always intrigued to get your thoughts on what's going on with the Tigers. You know what? Bill's absolutely right. Philly, there's so much. I had a goo baby moment last night, Shep, right before the game started. I'm not going to lie. I turned into big old goo baby, and there was maybe about a 2-minute. I'm not what. Like that. And I posted something stupid on social media, just the Lions logo, and I said 2026 book it. And I was having, and then you start to, gosh damn it, what if we would have gotten by? What if we would have gotten by Washington? And oh gosh, we could have had a shot at this KC team. We would have been boat raced, man. There's no doubt in my mind. Bill, I agree with you. The way that D was decimated, it frightens me, Shep, to think what Philly might have done to the Lions.
I would agree they would have given up just as many points. But I don't know about getting boat raced from this standpoint only, because Detroit's offense is a hell of a lot better than Kansas City's. And I think their offensive line would have done a better job in protecting Jared Goff. And I truly believe, with all due respect to Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, I truly believe Ben Johnson would have figured something out to keep them competitive. I'm not saying they would have won, okay? But I do believe that Detroit would have been, as long as they took care of the football, which they couldn't do against Washington, I do think it would have been much more competitive.
Yeah, so. Some more thoughts on the game. Shep, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on where Bregman is at as well. But as always, we have to take care of some business. It's one of the things that we do, and we're very, very glad to be able to do just that. Let me tell you about our friends at Wealth Advantage. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. They are located in historic downtown Northville and owned by those two cats right there, the Hanson brothers. With over 20 years of industry experience, they understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are, and that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, you're already in retirement, these guys can and will help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. Look, they've work through our stages of life, younger parents and then older kids. And we've been with them for a while. They'll take care of you as well. The investment world is a complex one. And if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to my guys right there. Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right, the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574, or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. I think Philly represented what the Lions would have looked like with a healthy defense. I like the Lions offense better than Philly's offense too. I really do. Shep, you said Kansas City. I like the Lions offense better than Philly's too. And
yeah, I used to think
I'm not going to make any excuses. It's part of the game, and that's reality.
Yeah, so this was a tough one for me. It was really hard because I was steadfast in belief that the Lions had the best offensive line in football this year. Phillies was better. Okay. Would I take Jared Goff over Jalen Hurts? It's a good question. Jalen Hurts has been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1, and look at his numbers in the Super Bowls. In the head-to-head matchup with Patrick Mahomes, he blows him out of the water in terms of yards, in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. Philly's tight end, Dallas Goedert, I think as good as Sam Laporta.
I'll take Sam.
Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs. And the wide receivers, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, pretty damn good. I don't know if it's clear cut, but I might give the edge to Philly in that regard. I was really, really impressed with them. So,
Shep, it's interesting. You and I were almost lockstep. Philly's offensive line's better. Sorry, it is. Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff. I'd go 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs is close, but then you throw in Montgomery, which less wear and tear, and Barkley's had a whole hell of a lot of wear and tear in his life. I would take the younger version in Sam Laporta, and I'd take our receiving core. I think it's close, but when I put it all together, I give Detroit just the slightest edge, because it's funny. We had that conversation earlier today, not you and I, and I kind of fell in lockstep with you. There's something to be said for wear and tear. I don't care what anybody says. I mean,
David Montgomery's had a lot of wear and tear.
Oh, absolutely. But there's a Jahmyr Gibbs with him. You know what I mean? And you don't see the kind of share that you do with the situation in Philadelphia.
That's fair. I mean, Barkley had more carries than anybody else. I guess I could look at it as he's pretty durable. That probably helps. I just think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith I would take over Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams.
Okay.
So
I'm not going to argue with you too much. I think a lot closer.
I think to your point, I like Jared Goff a lot. It's hard for me to take away from a guy like Jalen Hurts after what he's done in 2 Super Bowls, even the one they lost to Kansas City. I'm not sure the fumble was a problem, but I'm not sure he was the biggest reason for their loss. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's so damn close. It's razor thin. I understand one side. I hope the other side understands where I'm coming from too. It's not a knock on the Lions. It's not that I don't love the Lions. It has nothing to do with it. It's just that I was one of those people who, the Lions got the best offensive line, and that's the reason they're going to win. They're going all the way to the Super Bowl, and they're going to win the Super Bowl because of that offensive line. And then you watch Philly's offensive line, and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe how much time Jalen Hurts had to throw the football and all the lanes he had to run the football and all that other stuff. And Kansas City was stacking everything against Saquon Barkley, and it didn't matter. Nope. It did not matter. Nope. And that offensive line, if you could have given the MVP, you could have given it to both the defensive line and the offensive line, because those were the difference in the game. It wasn't Jalen Hurts, with all due respect. It was the guys in the trenches for Philadelphia were just better than the guys in the trenches in red and yellow.
I want to go back to what somebody said early. Have you heard anything on Bregman? How imperative is it? I don't care what anybody says. I still don't think they have a third baseman. God bless Matt Verling. I'm serious. I'm not saying there isn't a role for him on the team. But they need a third baseman. Shep, have you heard anything? How important is it to you to maybe pull the trigger and find a way to get Bregman?
Yeah, so I learned this from Gibby, Sean. Your best teams have to have a certain WAR number combined. Mm-hmm. Okay. Detroit's best WAR player last year was Matt Verling, right, at 2.8, I believe. Alex Bregman on a down year was, I believe, 4.1. Detroit needs more players who are a high WAR player. It's as simple as that. I would not give Alex Bregman any more than probably 4 years. Maybe a team option for a fifth. Maybe. I don't care about the number in terms of money because it's not my money, but I worry about the length of term for a guy like Alex Bregman. He'll help them defensively, and God knows they need defensive help because they're a mess at short. They're a mess. It's an absolute train wreck at second base, and I don't trust the guy at first. So they need defense, and he'll hit in the top of the order. I worry about the ballpark with his power because I think a lot of it was used in Houston. I haven't heard anything. Somebody had said MLB Radio mentioned that Detroit was offering 6 years. That has been debunked, so I don't agree with that. I actually, even though I don't like two of the moves the Tigers have made, I'm giving them full marks for staying true and not going into 6 years. You want to give him the $200 million because that's his magic number. That'd be way too much on a 4-year deal. But if you could give him a huge signing bonus and get him for 4 years, I would do it in a minute. But I sure wouldn't go much more than that.
I agree with you.
Their defense, Sean. I know everybody loves the name and they love the All-Star performances and the Gold Glove and the Silver Slugger and the 2 World Championships in Houston. I get it, okay, but I'm tired of hearing people say defense wins championships. If you truly believe that, then you can understand why Dallas traded for Anthony Davis. Now, they didn't get as much as they probably should have, but you could understand that. Jalen Hurts, he was the MVP, said last night after the game, we won because defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then you should believe that defense is a little bit more important than what the Tigers have done with their infield because their infield's terrible right now.
No. I'm with you. No,
it's really bad, Sean. It's really bad.
I know. Bill, yeah, boy, right up my alley. I cannot believe the lack of buzz about this, Shep. It depresses me. I don't want to get into it long because sadly, I don't think that many people care. I'm not joking. I have been at 100% mahogany over this for about a week. I mean, just pure wood. I cannot wait for the Four Nations. But Bill said, who's the favorite to win the upcoming Four Nations tourney? If you looked at forwards and defense, there's absolutely no other way to say it. Canada by far the best team out there.
For sure.
Canada's goaltending is suspect to say the least. So yeah. I think that's
U.S. has got the best goalie, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. Yeah. I don't think there's that forwards, defense, Canada, and everybody else. I don't like any of the three. Honestly, I don't like any of the three goaltenders for Canada. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Mahomes has regressed. Their offense has zero big play ability. Why the regression? I'm not writing off Patrick Mahomes if my life depended on it, by the way.
Can I ask a question?
I just want to state the record. Yeah.
How has he regressed?
I think, Bill, I'll let you answer the question, but I think this wasn't a high-flying offense of years gone by. They didn't wow you. They were a team that, quote-unquote, found a way to win, which is an important thing. I don't want anybody to think that I'm dismissing it, least of which you, Shep. But I think the wow and the shock and awe that I think of that you saw in years gone by, you didn't see that with this team. Does that make sense?
It does. I would remind people that they had just, this was said about them last year because they only won 11 games and they still won a Super Bowl.
Oh, don't get me started.
When you play as many games as they have, and it's not like I'm a Chiefs fan. I do like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but I could take him or leave him. I don't care. I didn't want him to win. I don't understand how he has regressed when he's played more games than anybody else over the last 3 years. They had that proverbial target on their back the last 2 years, and they still got there. I didn't see him regressing. His offensive line was bad, even though he's got 2 Pro Bowlers on it. Remember this, too. He played most of the season without Isaiah Pacheco, most of the season without his number one wide receiver. So I would like to know how many others are able to overcome those types of things. I know they weren't the offensive juggernaut that we're used to seeing in the past. To me, all that matters is that you win, right?
Yep.
I mean, we
Yep.
say this, Sean. When you and I look at Pro Football Reference, there's only one player that gets the win loss underneath their statistics, and it's the quarterback. And in his first X amount of years, when you compare his to Brady's, 6 years, right? He's got 3 rings. He's played in 5 Super Bowls, and he's got more wins than Brady did over that extended period of time. To me, that's worth it. Now, I'm not going to say I think everybody got way too carried away with the GOAT. I mean, even last night on NFL primetime after the game, Booger McFarland is calling, Mahomes the greatest of all time. I'm like, have we forgotten? What have we forgotten here? Tom Brady played in 10 Super Bowls. He won 7 Super Bowls. And he lost to the Giants on a couple of really miracle plays. I don't understand how we've lost this. Terry Bradshaw, you know this, Sean, 4-0 in Super Bowls. He never had a game like Patrick Mahomes had last night. Joe Montana, 4-0 in Super Bowls, never threw a pick. He never played a game like that in a Super Bowl. Not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's regressed, but I'm not going to go so far as to say that he's suddenly become, chopped liver of the NFL. It's ridiculous. He's still the best player.
Let me get this out there. Our friends at Legacy, did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters, like my family, have called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And help save you some money. Don't we all want a little bit more of that right about now? Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. So what are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. You know what's funny, Shep? And you touched on Kansas City last year, and perfect. They lost to Aiden O'Connell. What's wrong with the Chiefs? The Chiefs are falling apart. The Chiefs go and win the Super Bowl. Something that I've seen the last few days, and I'm not joking. It's driving me nuts. Is people talking about how difficult the Lions' schedule is in 2025. Shep, I'm sorry. Here it is. I'm calling my shot, Todd. I'll pay it. It's batshit crazy. Like, they had a first place schedule this past year too, okay? And the one thing that we've learned, and we're all guilty of doing it. I don't know if you do anymore, Shep. I play the schedule game every year. The day the schedule comes out, I play the schedule game. It's stupid, it's dumb, but it's fun, okay? But I also say every single time, what we think we know about a team in mid-May and what the reality of a team is in the first week of September, and then again in the first week of October, and then again in the first week of November, and then again in the first week of December, are two entirely different things. And to me, Kansas City has had first place schedules for years, and they keep doing what they do. Like right. Come on, this is big boy football now. I don't want to hear that crap, and I also don't want to hear. And people got so mad at me when I said this all throughout the year. Shep, would I rather have the number 1 seed? Mm-hmm. Would I rather be at home? Uh-huh. Does it matter? Absolutely not.
Not as much as we think it does.
No, go 10-7, go 11-6. Find a way to win. Now that you've been there and you've won some games, find a way to maybe usurp that young and upcomer who's not quite ready for prime time. Whatever the case may be, it drives me out of my mind.
I would not have had a problem with the Lions playing in Minnesota or Los Angeles. I thought they were really good on the road. So a lot of players, as you know, will tell you that they're more focused. It's a little bit, sometimes it's almost better on the road because it's us against them. Bill says that they scored 30 points only once this season, Jeff. No, Bill, they scored 30 points or more 3 times. They did it against Tampa. They did it against Carolina. And they did it against Buffalo in the playoffs. And then, they scored 29 a couple of times. Does that matter? I mean, is that the magic number? How many times Detroit scored 30? Were they playing in the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I thought Kansas City's defense was better than it was going to show That's why I thought it was going to be like 24-20. I thought their defense was better than a lot of people give them credit for, but they got absolutely trucked by Philadelphia. Kudos to Nick Sirianni and his staff. What a great job they did. Kellen Moore, new head coach in New Orleans, Vic Fangio. What an awesome job they did. Sometimes you just got to say, I don't like Travis Kelce, but what he did say after the game is, look, they beat us in every phase. They were better in all three phases all night long. They came out raring to go. Kudos to them. That's what happens in sports sometimes. Gotta love it.
Bill, will the new pairing of Luka and LBJ help boost the NBA TV ratings the rest of the season? You know what's funny, Bill, and I don't think you and I have had a chance to talk about this, Shep. It's funny. I keep hearing people talk about how the NBA is down, okay? And people went nuts last week. I mean, nuts. You want to talk about making a talking point, throw a trade out there like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that may help it, but the ratings in general, though, Sean, are not good, right? I mean, they're way down. Okay. All right.
No. But to me, when I keep hearing all this stuff, NBA's down, NBA's falling. We know about ratings, okay? We know about ratings. That's first and foremost. You can laugh at that. I don't know. I sure did see a buzz about that, and it helps when the Pistons are playing the way they are. I mean, this is legitimately fun right now. This is not.
But Sean, you used to host the show for 3 hours every single day for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and it's not that I don't like the Pistons or I like the NBA or basketball in general. You can't do that for the Pistons.
No,
you're not doing that for the NBA. Okay?
No.
There's two sports where you could probably talk 3 hours. Okay. I don't know. Did you ever do a 4-hour shift? I never did the 4-hour shift.
I did. We called it anything to kill 4 hours. It was AK4. It was wonderful. So by yourself. Oh, it was so much fun.
I can't even imagine. Football, you can do that. I mean, you can rotate from NFL to college. There's always something going on there. Again, goes back to what you and I first started with, how great the NFL is. The other thing is baseball. I mean, just because everybody's so locked in every single night, you could talk baseball for a good 3 hours. That's hard to do in basketball unless your team is a championship contender. And I think it's really hard to do it in hockey. You could do it in hockey, but you're probably the only person in Detroit and maybe the state of Michigan who could do all 3 hours by themselves with the sport of hockey, because there's just not enough people who know about it. They think they do, but they don't. So I think, basketball is great. It maybe for an hour or so. I just don't think the people at this stage of the season are truly into it. I mean, you just said like the Pistons and the way they're playing. They're a game above 500, man. They're a game above 500 at home. Sure, middle of the pack or so. It's not like they're challenging Cleveland or Boston or some of the best teams in basketball. I like them. I like their youth. I love their coach. I really like Trajan Landing, and I think he's going to do a great job of putting a roster together. But right now,
Friday night was fun to me. And I'll tell you, you think without your big dog out, this is going to be one of those nights, and they jump out to that lead against Philadelphia. They were up by 728. And then, like so many games I've seen in the past decade plus, that lead started to dwindle. And I'm like, they're going to do it again. I see every time I get sucked in, they remind me that this has been a woebegone franchise. It's terrible. It's terrible. And they didn't allow it to happen. And so, Shep, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm comparing the Pistons to the Pistons as opposed to perhaps what they should be in everything. But with that being said, the only time and I think you'll agree with me, the only time where we could have done it was maybe 04, 05 and into 06. Because when you got into late May and it's the Eastern Conference Finals, and the 2 years in a row they went in the NBA Finals, you could have just said the word Pistons and every phone light is gonna turn on the phone. It was really insane.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, that game against Philly, especially with, like you said, without Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, what do you have? 3 dozen?
Yeah.
I find them very entertaining. I do. I find them entertaining. My expectations, it's an interesting discussion, because going into their games, I don't know what I'm expecting. Against Charlotte, of course. Do I expect Cade Cunningham to get a triple-double, his 8th of the year? Not necessarily. Jalen Durham with a double-double. But against teams like that, against other teams, I'm almost watching as a bystander who doesn't have a dog in the hunt and hoping that they can just hang in there against a team like Cleveland or Indiana or Boston or New York or somebody of that ilk. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no.
My expectations are limited there, but I enjoy watching them play, if that makes sense.
All right, let me tell you about All About Catering. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events. You want to be a loser and watch the Four Nations tournament all day and not cook? Anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people, All About Catering can and will take care of you. Rick and his staff, customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today. See all their menus and all their 5-star reviews as well. Call them 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep, I know we only have a couple minutes. You got to rest that glorious voice. College hoops get zero buzz, even with 2 top 25 in the area. I don't know. Do you know what I think? I'll speak for Michigan State. I think people look at Michigan State like an old bit the last 5 years. Really and truly. Okay, you're cute. Even with, before they lost the 2 on the West Coast, okay, we know what's going to happen. This team isn't going to make a run. Really, I honest to God, I think that's the dynamic there. For Michigan, we're not quite ready for prime time yet. I don't know. You tell me.
I think with Michigan State, because they don't have a superstar. So that has forced people to go, you know what? I just don't see it happening. I like the way they play the game. I mean, Jace Richardson was unbelievable.
This is an Izzo team. It really is. It's an Izzo team.
I agree with you. I'm not going to fall into the trap of they play a hard schedule at the beginning and they just progressively get better. Hold on a second. They're pretty damn good, period. Okay? They've improved in their free throw shooting. They've greatly improved in turnovers. They don't shoot the 3 very well. Michigan turns it over too much, which is interesting, and relies on their 2 bigs quite a bit, and rightfully so. I think they're both pretty damn good. Obviously, they're both NCAA tournament teams. I think they can cause some problems for other teams. In watching as much college basketball as I have so far this year, I thought Duke was the best team I had seen, and they just got beat by Clemson, and Cooper Flagg wasn't very good. Auburn's been in the top spot for the last 5 weeks. Tennessee's pretty good. Alabama's pretty good, right? Florida is pretty good. Purdue's pretty good, and they play at Michigan tomorrow night. I think Michigan and Michigan State are as good as a lot of teams, maybe outside that top 5 or so. You watch Michigan, it'll be Purdue tomorrow. I mean, that's just kind of crazy in how the Big Ten is. But, yeah, it's really too bad that we've almost become accustomed to, well, Michigan State's going to win 20-plus games. They're going to be near the top of the Big Ten. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. They'll make the Sweet 16 and maybe just come up short and be to reach the Elite 8. That's really too bad that we've taken that for granted.
That's the reality. I mean, it is. I think you said it better than I can. That's the old bit that I talked about. 2 things before we get out of here. Did you guys get positive ratings when you did Shep Shower and Shaver? It is what it is back in the day. I told myself a long time ago, I will never talk about that stuff on the air. All I will say is that stuff was well known. How's that? And there were a lot of that lied about their own ratings.
Yeah, so here's what I would say. Sean was number 1. I had some really good numbers in the morning for a short period of time. There are certain hurdles that neither one of us could get over. I don't think either one of us would be remiss by saying we were very proud of the product that we put out there on a regular basis.
Our company didn't support us. And it got to a point where I think for both, I'll say it. I'll say for me, it got to a point I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
Period. And I just walked away and said, that's that. That's really what it comes down to. Ned, this is great. The Tarasenko market that Elliot Friedman mentioned on Hockey Night in Canada, it's rare he goes into Yzerman rumors on the air. I hope it's true. It didn't come from Steve Yzerman. Whenever I hear somebody say they know what Steve Yzerman's going to do, I know that person's full of shit. Unless a phone call has been made or multiple phone calls were made and the leak came from somewhere else.
Sean, how are you going to trade him?
Closer to the press than anybody.
How are you going to trade him?
I would say this, okay? If you His perfect fit last year was Florida because you asked him to go to Florida and he could go put on the third line. He's not going to do Tarasenko things anymore. He's not the guy that he was in St. Louis 5 years ago. That was a perfect fit for him. If you're a veteran team who really thinks that you got a shot at the Stanley Cup, that's a guy that you put on your back end, your third, fourth line or anything like that. But I'm with you, Shep. I don't know. And what's going to be the return for Tarasenko at this point in time if that happens?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can't even venture a guess. But, and I know they looked rather tired on Saturday against Tampa. You know, it's not like he's holding them back. You'd like more production. You need more production. If you want to make any type of move, you have to get more production. But they have found a way. I love the young guys, man. I love watching the young guys play. I think I'm not one of those guys who thinks let's just get rid of all the veterans and put all the young guys in. I think you have to have a nice blend. I think they've got a pretty nice blend right now. Doesn't mean that they're going to challenge for a division title or a conference championship or anything like that. I like what some of these young guys are learning right now.
I think people needed to see progress in this quote unquote Yzer plan, and we're seeing it right now. We're living it in the last couple.
To your credit, I mean, you said, I'm going to reserve judgment. This is the year. The bell tolls now. Let's see what happens. And he made the right change. You can complain like I did about how this team started, but he found something that he needed to get done. He did it. And you got to give him full marks because it has changed the entire season. It's changed the entire locker room. And it's really changed a lot of the playoff picture as they move forward. So kudos to him.
Ned, if they retain 50%, maybe. Hey, listen, if I thought he was huge to Florida last year. And if you were looking for his contributions and numbers, they weren't there. I thought he added a big body to a team that needed a big body and whose biggest competitor in the East is Charmony Soft. So at least last year.
Yeah.
Like that was a great, when he went to Florida, I was like, ooh, that one's pretty good. Shep, I know we got to get out of here. When it's time to get yourself a house, you're buying, selling, or both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? Well, I'll tell you right now, that lady right there, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville. She's expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan, an expert in all facets of the business. So when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Just make sure you contact the expert. Contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, go see Fisherman's Friend and take care of that throat, okay?
All right, brother. Good to see you, pal.
Thanks.
Thank you, Todd.
Sean starts to glow whenever he talks hockey. I'll have what he's having. I love it. I don't care what anybody. NFL's king. It'll always be my favorite sport. Todd, Shep, everybody, thank you. Talk to you guys soon later.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.